Okay, so I pulled a profile from Our Time, which is a dating app, and it was one of my favorites because it was just really simple to use, and you could navigate it really easy. And so some of the um, questions that you need to start kind of thinking about right now, because these are things that you may have never thought about before, as far as being prepared, and when you do interact with men on the dating app, even if you meet someone at some event or church or a function somewhere in town, you know, these are questions that you need to understand that are important for you to be able to ask them, but also have answers for if they ask you. What are you most passionate about? You know, what makes you laugh? What are you grateful for right now? What are you looking forward to in this stage of life? Some things sound a little sappy, but you can pick and choose kind of what you want to reply to. Are you retired, working, or semi-retired? And that was kind of an important question for some men, because later in life you've got men that are retired and they want to be able to maybe travel, things like that. And if you're tied to a job forever, how long you think, that may not be compatible with what they want to do. And so that could be an important question. And please, you've got to be honest about these things. Don't get desperate. I call this desperate dating. And I did that. I did that for quite a while. I did it longer than I want to say I did, because everybody's different in this, but I've been very into having security, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I kind of hit rock bottom. And then I realized that some of my relationships, I always try to be very respectful about the two men that I was married to and different men that I've, maybe met. Sometimes we just don't know ourselves, but I was always loyal, and that doesn't mean that I knew why I was in the relationship. But now I have a lot better evaluation of that. And I've prayed a lot about it, and God has really helped me help bring those things out. And you've got to forgive yourself, and you've got to be able to put some things in the past and move on. And that's what we're doing later in life. We want to be healthy moving forward. And you can't be emotionally and mentally healthy if you don't forgive yourself and other people that were involved, and press on ahead and do things more in the right way. Meeting someone for later in life that has all of the qualities that you really are looking for, and that you have what they're looking for, and you can be not only a team as far as financially and daily life, but also emotionally and spiritually and even physically. And all of these things matter for a really good relationship. And later in life, we're at the the last part of our life. So it's really important. It's always important, because if you're raising kids and all of the front part of your life, it's important to have someone that is a good team person in the relationship. But at the end of the life, you've got just as much important things happening at the end, that you want to make sure that you're in the right relationship. And so you've got to know yourself. And that can take, it took me 2 years. It took me 2 years. I didn't believe what people had said about you need to take 2 years after a divorce to really get, well, I thought I was pretty good in 3 months. I thought, man, I think I'm all right. Well, the friends that I had around me knew I wasn't all right, but that's just what happens. So, what hobbies do you enjoy? You may want to figure that out. What's your favorite activities? What kind of music do you like? Do you have children? Are they grown? How important is family life to you? How much time do you spend with your family? Men's going to want to know about that. You're going to want to know that from them. See, these questions, you need to see this so that you know what to ask them, but they're going to be asking you. Men that are really worth getting to know will ask you some of these things. If they don't, if it's all about your pictures, if it's all about intimacy, and they can get really personal really quick, and you need to understand that a lot of them you need to shut down pretty quick. You just need to move on. Part of the whole thing with the dating app that I had to get used to is being hurt all the time and crying a lot. Think it's silly, but if you're texting with a guy and it's going really well and you're sharing things and you like a lot of the same things, and maybe even you exchange phone numbers and you text that way. However far you kind of progress, you kind of go slow, because at any moment somebody could say something that throws a big red flag up there. But even if you make it to talking on the phone, you've still got to be ready to get out of there at any moment. And if you haven't dated a lot like me, been married forever to somebody, you get you might get a little bit attached just because of the attention and the conversation. And if you're a friendly person, I like talking to people. I'm friendly. I'm interested in people. If they just are gone one day, which is, like they just ghost you, which means they're just gone. They might even block your phone number. They're just gone. It hurts your, it hurts your feelings. I would just sit there and just cry like, what did I do? It's just so crazy. It's so crazy now to think about it. Because what it does is it gives you tougher skin. It gets your emotions, it beats the crap out of your emotions. And you really need that. I'm telling you, you need that. You need to harden up a little bit when it comes to this, to men, just a variety of men, because you don't want to get taken. You don't want to get taken with words and with feelings, and they could say all these wonderful things, but they're leading you on a path. And here once again, it's not just online dating that you've got to be aware of with this. You can meet those guys at the grocery store, at church, at some function, a friend of a friend. you know, not everybody knows everybody personally, even though they might be okay people. They could have personalities and little quirks that nobody knows about. So, this is why I'm just saying there's, at some point we'll get into safety things in another video, because this one I don't want to make real long. I just want to talk about the dating app questions because they do help you find out about yourself, and you need to know that before you look for somebody. You won't know the right man for you until you know who you are. How are you supposed to know what man's going to be the best one for you if you don't even know what's important to you and how you, where do you have peace? Where do you fall spiritually? What's your relationship with God? Do you have one? It comes down to this equally yoked thing. If you're aware of what that means, do you have enough of the same beliefs that you're complementing each other, and you can build a life together with your spiritual values. That's really important. So anyway, family, where's your children? Are you close to them? What are you looking for in a partner? Here we go. What qualities matter most in a relationship? You need to know the answer to that. What does a healthy relationship look like to you? You may not know. Have you ever seen one? What did it look like to you? You might have seen, a family member married, friends, whatever, and you've always looked up to them and thought, oh wow, their relationship's so great, and just disregard that, like in a year later they're divorced. But I'm just trying to be funny, but that happens. I mean, that happened to me. One year I'm thinking that everything's wonderful based on just what I knew, and the next year I was gone. What is your love language? Well, that's a fun thing to talk about. That's the book, the love language book. Can't remember who wrote that. I'll think of it later tonight when I'm sleeping. Are you looking for a companionship, dating, or long-term relationship? You better know this one, ladies, because see, this all depends on what your belief system is and what you want to do. There's some women our age that are like, I'm never getting married again. I'm never doing that again. I'm keeping my money separate. I've got this. I want my freedom to some degree. I just want somebody to go eat supper with. I just want somebody to go do walking trails, go to an event. I just want companionship. Some may want dating, I mean, some people might, be a little bit more, whatever it is you need to know. Or do you want a long-term relationship? Or are you, and I think it's okay to say in there, I'm all about marriage to the right person. I mean, and some of you may be very definite on that. You may say, I'm not even into intimacy before marriage. Like, I'm not, you may be very set on what your beliefs are. And I think that that's all perfectly fine. You just have to communicate that to people, and you just got to work through that with somebody. So, and then the question, what is a deal breaker? What's the deal breaker for you? It could be a spiritual belief. It could be a marriage belief, a dating belief. It could be one of the big ones, and I've got a book coming out on all of this, the whole dating online process. And a chapter in there is on relocation. Are you willing to relocate to a different city, a different state? If it's a deal breaker, don't put on your dating app that you're willing to relocate if you're not. If you're open to it, then yeah, but don't go down a road and start talking to a guy and start getting, a little bit attached or get feelings involved if you have no plans. If him or you, one won't relocate and he's from a different state or something, don't start stuff like that. And you're thinking, well, he's really cute. And look at him. Look at all this picture. You got to get really past the picture thing. And I know it can be very exciting at first and you're getting attention. And when you're coming out of being emotionally drained from whatever, a loss of your husband in whatever way, or just you're free again and you've just got a lot of emotional release, going on, and you're just, you can get sucked into this stuff really easy. And that's why I'm saying you got to get tough skin. You've got to get hurt a few times. You got to be disappointed by men in this. It will start, with some women, it might go overboard and make you very, like, I don't want to do this anymore. It depends on what your stamina is for things, for difficult things. And it's whatever you decide to do. But I would say work through this process. You need to experience hurt. And you need to experience the goodness, the men that are actually nice and they say good things. I've learned a lot. There's been a lot of wisdom that's come from some men that I've learned things. I've learned things about them. I could say something to them about what happened in a previous marriage or something, and they will share something from the man's point of view. And I'm like, I never thought about that. I never really considered that. So, you can learn, men are not just, they do. There are some very smart, the guy I'm in relationship now, he's very mature. And, he may not think he is, but he is, and he's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of godly wisdom. And he knows women very well. And he can spot things in women that, he's asked me specific things because of my response to a question. And he knows what to find out, and he just gets it. And I've had to learn how to actually talk to someone like that. Like, it's just really different. Every man is different. None of them are, it doesn't make anybody wrong or bad or anything. It's just everyone's going by what they've experienced in life and what they know and who they've been around and their personality. So you got to know what the deal breaker is for you. Do you have a bucket list? What's on your bucket list? If you could travel anywhere tomorrow, where would you go? I mean, some fun questions. What values guide your life? That's a good one. I mean, can you actually answer this stuff really fast? If you can, that's awesome, but I couldn't. Something like that. What values guide my life? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just being real with you. I've just been like on autopilot. I feel like I don't know. I just went with feelings and emotions and stuff, and what makes a relationship successful? How would your friends describe you? Well, that might be an eye-opener. Might not want to know the answer to that one. What are you most proud of? How do you spend your weekends? What does this chapter of your life look like? What makes you unique? What are you hoping to find through online dating? Those are just some of the questions. I'm going to be doing that a lot. I mean, as soon as my book's done for the online dating, it's a real practical how-to and just basic. I wish I'd had it when I'd started dating, because I learned so much, and I have in there what's called a dating tracker, where it was kind of like a journal that I kept on everybody I talked to for any length of time. Like, even if it was just, oh, I met this one on here, and here's a little bit about him, age and where he's at, what city, state, and like when I would text, I would just jot down little notes about this person, and then if he's gone, then I would just put gone, but I did that because when you start, you're going to talk to more than one guy at a time, more than likely. I mean, that doesn't hurt anything, because you're more than likely you're not meeting the first one that you're in conversation with. I mean, it's just not normally going to work that way. And you need to be open to talking to several, because you need to learn. You need to learn what you're looking for. You don't want to just jump in with the first one or two. So you treat this more like a job interview or something. Disconnect from the emotional thing of getting too quick emotionally, or just thinking their pictures looks really good. So I want to get to know this one. Well, you may not, and you may not really quickly find, and they may not want to get to know you. You've got to get some tough skin here. So anyway, think about these questions and start thinking about that. And if you've got questions for me, put them in the comments. I'm going to be reading all the comments on the videos. I'm going to be putting out quite a few videos on this channel. It's the Later in Life Network, and I'm going to be doing some other types of issues. We're going to talk about how do you stabilize your life when you're single again at this age. And I say over 50, but there's some women that might be over 40. They may be in their 60s or 70s. And depending on the quality of life that you have and just how you navigate life, everyone, a lot of people are wanting relationships, but a lot of women need to know how to handle life on their own, and that's what this network's about. So and subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube, and I may be on Rumble as well.